Let me give you an update from the body shop, show you what we're up to at the moment. So this is number 18 tailgate, which the car's gone back to customer, but the panels were remaining for us to do. So we've got the bonnet over there, and then all the panels are in the spray booth. Sorry, not the panels, the frames and things that go on the front of the body are in the spray booth, ready to be painted today. This is the American LaFrance, which Ed has made the entire body for, the frame and the body. The car's obviously at the top, the chassis for it. So we're just about to start painting and preparing this. Aluminium's like really tricky. We'll explain how we do that with our epoxy, but what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to epoxy the whole thing with a wet on wet epoxy, which means that I can put another coat of paint over the top of it whilst it's still wet, basically. Well, not wet, but it's flashed off, but it's not thoroughly through dry. But it's just a quicker way of working. So I'm going to put the epoxy on the inside, so it's got that epoxy quality, and then I can put a 2-pack colour straight on top, which I'll explain in a second, because we've just got a new scheme that allows us to do that. So I'll walk you through that in a second. So that's good to get on with that. Then we've also got here, this is BMW 328, I think it is. Quite an early BMW, obviously. Unfortunately, on bare metaling, there's found loads of bits of corrosion and some holes down here. So this will go at the top to be repaired, and then afterwards we'll get it all blasted so it's nice and clean, ready for us to epoxy. This is the colour it's going to be. It's like a blue. We've had to make this, and what's unusual for this is that we're actually doing this in cellulose, which is the customer's request. So it matches the original paint. So I'll show you how we do that in a second, again with our solid colour scheme. So this is a colour we've been working on for a couple of hours to get it pretty close. Can't really see, but you know, it's pretty spot on now. But to the body, that looks really good. Then we've got another E-type here, which we're getting ready, convertible obviously. So we've done a lot of the repairs. We've got some gapping up and things to do yet, but just to explain why we use epoxy, because I mentioned it a few times, and aluminium as well, it's really important. But when you have a bare metal shell, the issue is if it's been left in bare metal for a long period of time and it flash rusts. Aluminium is even worse, but for steel, for example, epoxy allows us to seal the body in, and then we can put our filler on top of the epoxy. The issue with filler is it's basically like a sponge, so it just absorbs moisture. So if there's moisture in the air, it gets sucked into the filler and it can touch the steel panel, and then you get rust underneath your filler, which is like the worst thing. Can't fight physics, and it will just come through and cause a problem. So we put epoxy on, that seals the whole body in, and then we can put our filler on top of the epoxy, which is a process that's allowed by the manufacturers. And there we go, that's all sealed in, and that filler won't move or rot or do anything silly. So yeah, that's what we've got down here. Let me just show you then our new solid colour scheme, which is really cool. Basically, I mean, we usually mix our colours in water base, then we put a clear lacquer on top. But our solid colour scheme, which has only been in a week, allows us to mix 2K or 2-pack products, so solid colour basically. So that's where you got your colour and your lacquer mixed together as one finish. It looks exactly the same as a solid colour that's lacquered, except you can't do metallics and you can't do pearls with this process. You have to use water base for those. But what's really cool about this scheme is it's a binder system. So what that means is, so number 18 bonnet downstairs is a green bonnet. We can mix up a primer now. Instead of it being grey or black or white, we can now mix it up, the actual colour that the body will be, or very close to. So that helps us when we're colouring it up, because it saves material, which is passed on to the customer. You know, everybody's winning in that situation. It saves processes and costs and all sorts. So that's really cool. Then we can mix up, this is basically the binder if we wanted to make a 2-pack version of the colour. And then down here we have what's called a cellulose or 1K top coat binder, similar to cellulose. equivalent sort of process, which is really cool because I can now mix that blue for that BMW, for example, in a primer. I can mix it as a 2-pack paint, or I can mix it as a cellulose equivalent. So all these, this scheme is a very powerful scheme when it comes to doing classic cars. One we wanted to get for a little while, but definitely going to be useful in the future. But you'll see that in some of our processes coming up.